day 2 of the Tomorrow Tastes Mediterranean International Conference. Before we begin, I would like again to thank all of the sponsors and collaborators who brought this event together so successfully. My name is Maureen Castora, and I am a professor of food studies and liberal arts at the Culinary Institute of America. This session is Crafting Flavor in the Eastern Mediterranean Kitchen from Greece and Turkey to the Levant. Better? Okay. So, aside from its function in providing delicious ingredients and a productive and welcoming climate, the Mediterranean Sea has always acted as a highway, as all seas do. It connects people to people and place to place. Today's Mediterranean diet covers not just Greece and Spain and Italy, well represented here, but all of the cultures and peoples connected by the sea, which remains the main and by far the easiest way to travel up until the modern era. In this session, we're talking about the Eastern Mediterranean, which includes Turkey, the Levant, and other areas now included in what we call the Middle East. As far back as the dawn of agriculture, people and their food have moved across these areas. They are a crossroads. Some researchers believe that we can track the migrations of people through the appearance of novel foods on the islands in the Mediterranean, while we can also look at frescoes from the Minoans to see evidence of their trade with places as far away as India. There are the famous Akrotiri murals of the gray langur monkeys, a native that is only a species that is only native to the subcontinent. And this has never stopped. The movement of people and ingredients through these areas have never stopped, and they've never slowed. This remains a crossroads, bringing spices, flavors, and techniques from East and West together in new ways, constantly reinventing and reimagining itself and its cuisine. The 3 people on this panel all embody this heritage in different ways. They cross borders, they bring new flavors to new areas, they reinvent themselves, both through desire and necessity. Invention, crossing borders, and self-examination are not easy. Sometimes they are uncomfortable, but they help us to grow in many ways, as these chefs show. So, Azad Tash is a Kurdish chef who has transformed not just his country of residence as an immigrant to Greece, but his profession and his future. He is the chef at Argent Experience in Trikala, Greece, where he creates welcoming, sustainable meals guided by a zero-waste philosophy and a desire to build community. So, Azad, do you want to speak first?
I prepare a speak over here. The good things that not everyone here, so less travel. I don't think I can follow my speech, but I have a message for you all guys. That the food do not recognize border, because border is just imagination, nothing else. You cannot see difference in the soil in the one side of the border and the other. Reality beats the fantasy. Maureen told about that we bring the new flavor, yes, but also we learn from where we find ourselves. Me, myself, I learn from my elders, and I try to keep this tradition alive. I tried following innovations, and I try to integrate them to the modern kitchen, but keep it simple, like bread and like milk and the fermentations and the pickling and all the preservation techniques. In Argent, in small kitchen, we try to do this for 6 people every day. Many people call us crazy. Some of them are more polite. They say brave. Thank you. But mostly we got crazy. So when we started, we said we have nothing to lose. And again, today, still, we have nothing to lose. And Guys, we all live like we are immortals, but we are not. We are aging. Look at yourself in the mirror, please. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. And what we will leave behind, really, what if your profession were your kids, your child, what would you leave behind? Well, how would you like to treat that? Profit, money is good. It's good. It's a good tool if we can use it. But really, what we will leave behind? What is going to be our legacy? Not like Homerus, we will just leave a next generation. That's all. But no one gonna write our novel if we do this. So 7 minutes is too much for me, guys. Thank you so much.
Good morning, hello. Yes, I don't believe social media is necessary, but shouldn't define you. I was born and raised in Istanbul, and I often say I'm one of the lucky ones, because the Istanbul I grew up in, is this okay? Okay, thank you. That Istanbul still had neighbors from every corner of the city's layered past. On our street, in our neighborhood of Salacak by the Bosphorus, lived many Rum families, Romyos in Greek they call. We had an Armenian living on the top floor, and she would make the best mussel dolmas, and whenever she made them, she would bring them down. And I also still can't forget we call beyaz peynir, similar to feta, but it's completely different. It can be translated as white cheese, fatty, creamy, and very briny, which we purchased from a Bulgarian grocer on the corner. And the smells of our neighborhood, of our street, changed every day. One evening, you'd smell the mastiha and mahleb from Töreki. We call it paskalya cherry in Turkish. Another day, garlic and vinegar from making pickles, turşu. The smells always followed the seasons and the traditions of each layer of the society. And you shared that food. You were considerate and showed respect to others' preferences and lifestyles, be it Muslim or Christian or Jew. It was a world in harmony, respect, humility, and affection back then. I wish it remained that way still, but unfortunately, this is not our world today. It's changing, and I should say we don't have to like it. But that was Istanbul then. You just didn't live among people. You lived among traditions. You lived among smells and flavors and everything. And you know, it's impossible to divert geography from the cuisine. What makes our food traditions are always shaped by the geography we live in, either migrate to or from. We carry the taste with us. And Istanbul has always been a city of movement, rather of arrivals, more of arrivals than departures. And for centuries, it absorbed people, languages, faiths, and ingredients. It was the capital of 3 empires, Eastern Roman, Byzantine, and Ottoman, and each left its mark at the table or on the table. But as history shifted, so did the culture. Whoops. Okay. What began as Roman gradually became Greek in language and spirit, shaped by the Eastern Church after the Great Schism. The Romyos in Greek, actually they are the Eastern Romans, were there from the beginning. Others arrived in stages: Turks, Armenians, Jews, Albanians, Bulgarians, traders and migrants from all over the Balkans, Anatolia, and of course the Levant. Each community brought its own rituals and its own ingredients its own ways of celebrating, so they brought their own customs. From the Balkans came dairy, meat pies, and maybe the habit of fermenting. From Anatolia, grains, pulses, herbs, and from the Levant, spices, tomato paste, and sun-dried vegetables. And together, over centuries, they created a sum that's greater than its parts. Istanbul's cuisine isn't a fusion. It's the result of coexistence. Centuries of shared kitchens, shared markets, and unfortunately, at times, shared hunger. I believe Istanbul shaped an entire region. Because the palaces of all those empires were there, they affected both as a mirror and as an engine, refining and redistributing tastes across the land. Yet, it didn't exist in isolation. It couldn't have been. It was also shaped by the empire and by the people. It was a center of distribution. The best of produce, the first harvest, the rarest ingredients, all found their way there. But also the migration, people traveling to and from, and all the ingredients. With them, taste traveled inward and outward. At the end, not the palace, but the reality of daily life and the simplicity of home cooking prevailed. That's how İmam Bayıldı became everyone's dish. Today, you can trace the path of an Istanbul pilav or an Albanian börek throughout the region. Recipes evolved, names changed, but the essence remained. That's why when we speak of Eastern Mediterranean table, we are really speaking of a single breathing ecosystem of taste. The geography connected not by borders, but by olive oil, wheat, dairy, produce, and all the sea creatures, but all of it is bound by our joint memory. When I opened Canteen in 2000, I called what I cooked New Istanbul Cuisine. It was an attempt, actually, to translate that layered past into the language of today, using local seasonal ingredients, working with small producers, respecting memory. Without tradition, we cannot talk about the future of cuisine. Yet, tradition isn't something to be preserved under glass. It's something you live, breathe, question, and reinterpret. For me, cooking is the most intimate way of understanding who we are, where we come from. Kitchen is a living archive, and it's carried by people and by generations. It's carried by those who left and had to leave, taking the flavors with them to another shore. Migration never stopped. Neither did the conversation between cuisines. When I say I'm an Istanbulite, I say it with pride and with humility, because being from Istanbul means carrying all these layers, all these voices inside you. It means belonging everywhere and nowhere at once. Maybe that's the true essence of cuisine. So when I cook today, whether it's a humble pilaki or something I've invented, I'd like to think I'm continuing that conversation between East and West, old and new, memory and imagination. Because in the end, flavor brings us together. Gathering and sharing around the table is our common language in Greece, Turkey, and all of the Levant. And Istanbul, my Istanbul, had been speaking this fluently for centuries. Thank you very much.
I'm not a perfect student like Shamsa, who did the perfect time.
Did I?
Yes, you did. 2 seconds difference, but like, it's okay. And we prepared everything, so I prepared nothing at all. And I just wanted this to be a discussion, you know, between different people. First of all, I'm very happy for most of us to look at the Mediterranean from a wider angle, because very often we look at the Mediterranean only from one side, which is, the European side. And we forget that the Mediterranean means, like it's a sea around which like all civilizations started, and not these only civilizations. There were people in other places too, but we're so Euro-centered or Mediterranean-centered. Let's start with this part, if you want. So, the Mediterranean has three sides at least. There's the ocean from one side, then there's the European side that, when we think about the Mediterranean, it's just the European side. It's not. There are two other parts that we completely forget. There is one part which is North Africa, and it is Mediterranean too, if you want to call it Mediterranean. I always like, to define words, because if you want to speak together, we have to speak together around specific definitions. Last night at dinner, we were talking about what Arab means, Is it being Muslim, is it speaking the language, or is it living in Saudi Arabia? I don't know which one of these three, the three are correct. I don't know which one of these three to accept. And when we're talking about the Mediterranean, it's the same. What is the Mediterranean? It's, normally, it's what surrounds that old sea, right? So there's a very well-known one side. There's another very important side, which is North Africa. And everybody's important. We're not doing, a scale of importance here. And there is another side where the three of us come from, right? So Chemsa is supposed to be an enemy for this country as a Turkish. Don't laugh, that's right. Özgur is supposed to be an enemy for Chemsa as a Kurdish, because Özgur is Kurdish. He didn't tell us his story. I don't know if all of you know. So we just had a coffee outside, and he told me about his story, and he prepared all of his speech. And I told him, "You can, who wrote it?" He said, "I did it myself." So I told him, "Don't write what you wrote; just speak it from your heart." I don't know if it was a good recommendation or not. So there is the Levant too. This part that you call Eastern Mediterranean, Levant. Like many different names. But it's an important part of the word because there's a lot of, if we're building on tradition and history, it's a part where a lot of traditions and history came from or started, where agriculture, was created. And today, I think that we are today in a very important shifting point between, with the ease of internet. I have the whole world in my pocket, and just a small phone, the communication, the ease of communication. But before there was like a very stupid thing that we considered like unimportant today, which was agriculture, guys. Agriculture in history was much more important than all the advances that we have today, because it permitted to each one of us to settle in one place and to start something, to start building a home, different homes, a city, more than homes, a civilization. So it was, and this is where this agriculture started. This is where the three monotheistic religions started that are unfortunately in evolution, maybe from, not in evolution, like a continuity from one to another, and today are complete, war between one and the other. So, I founded a farmer's market in Beirut in 2004, 21 years ago, and the only aim of it, our slogan still today is make food, not war. I come from a country that is half Christian, half Muslim. I come from a country that is more known to the conflicts, to its conflicts, rather than to its non-conflicts. So it was very easy. Either we're gonna, and it's just as the buildings that Chemsa talked about. It's a building with an Armenian lady living at the roof, a Kurdish person on the second floor, an Armenian person living on the first floor. So it was just like that. And when there is so much diversity, you either differences, sorry, not diversity. When there is so much differences, you either use these differences to fight between each other, or you just say, you know what, difference is diversity. It's extraordinary, and we are going to celebrate this diversity. Instead of me having the same traditions as her, celebrating on the same day, eating the same stuffed chicken, you know, or doing the same prayers, or it's like, ah, it's so boring. She would be praying on one day, he would be doing it on another day, I would be doing it on another day, I would be cooking in a way. So this is celebrating diversity. And this is the only way where we can build, you know, humans, groups, countries, and the world. We cannot have, you know, a mono-human. This is something that is not, this is something that does not exist, that is not possible. So either we are going to embrace and to celebrate the diversity, or we are going to keep on fighting each other and killing each other, and by the end, no one is going to win. Did Hamas win yesterday night? Did the Israelis win? I don't know. I think no one won, and it was just one of the worst wars in the history of mankind until today. There was a peace summit last night, and I think we needed another peace summit the night before, because on the table there was Talia, there was Shamsa, and there was myself. And I forgot which dish it was, it was an extraordinary dinner, in my opinion, when we had dinner in Yamas here on Monday night, and Sunday night, and I spoke about Tarator. And then it was, you know, a war between Talia and Shamsa about what is Tarator for her, what is Tarator for Talia, who is Greek, right? And then I didn't even dare to say what was Tarator for me, because I didn't even dare, it was already so tensed that I said I'm not going to put a third opinion. So, you know, it's the same word, it's three different expressions. Instead of having just one, it's three different expressions. And all of this region around the same land. The land gives the same production, agriculture. And the agriculture, instead of all of us doing the same tarator, it's so boring. Shamsa did some kind of tarator, Talia did another kind, Ozgur did a third kind, and I did a fourth kind, and it's so extraordinary. So this is what I try to do. I try to look for similarities beyond differences. I think we should try to celebrate diversity, embrace this diversity, and not be afraid of the other, because the other is not coming to take my place. There is place for me and for everyone else. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions for people. Kamal, first of all, last night at dinner you said something that I was hoping you would expand on a little bit.
What did I say? Oh my God.
You said you don't like the word help when you're talking about the people that you work with. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
There's a long list of words. The first one is concept, for instance, you know, and another one is charity. You told me you help farmers. I was nearly offended, and I said I help no one. And each one helps oneself. And we are just here, you know, to support each other. It's support, not help. And the giver has as much benefit and pleasure as the taker. And if ever you have a drop of water and I needed it, if you keep it for yourself, you're not going to use it, you know. Just do it, and it's a way to fructify it. So this is how I look at development, and I don't do farmers market. I do farmers market. I created kitchens too, where it's only home cooks who cook. It's home cuisine. It's not professional chefs with big ego, whether it's male or female. So it's mainly mothers who come and cook. In all of these places, it's about human development, because this is the only thing that we need to build around. In my opinion, there's no environmental crisis. I don't believe there is environmental crisis. This is total lie. Because when you say there's environmental crisis, it's like if the environment had a crisis. The environment is perfect. Nature is perfect by itself. If someone ruined it, it's me. it's a human. So there's a human problem on the environment, not an environmental problem. If there is an economic problem, it's a human that created this problem. It's not the economy by itself. So for me, anything we do should be only about human development, how to have a better oneself, a better individual, a better couple, a better group, a better society, a better country, a better world.
Thank you. The next question that I had for both Shamsa and Azad, you both talked in your speeches and your papers, your discussions about the idea of learning from the elders, learning from your ancestors, learning in your childhood. Can you talk a little bit more about that, and also about what someone today growing up in kitchens and food culture, what do you think they'll be nostalgic for?
I believe the best school would be by our mothers and grandmothers, because they bring the tradition and the knowledge, the ancient knowledge with them. They are living archives themselves. So we should do best to learn from them. But it shouldn't mean we should stick to what we have learned from them. This just would form the basis of our future. Then we would be free to do anything. I mean, you would teach not just about food. You would teach a child how to, let's say, manners, but later in life, would she or he apply those manners in her own life is her own choice. So we learn there, and then we decide what to do ourselves as individuals. We should not be bound by tradition, but we should be enriched by the tradition. And because, I mean, you can always go to schools, go to kitchens and this and that, but at the end, in my personal opinion and in my personal experience, I found people, the mothers who cook at Tavlet, for example. I was lucky to have eaten there. I had an amazing experience, because this is how you create an experience from the inside of you. It's not a study. It should not be a studied project. It should come within, from within, and it should reach out to people. If you reach out to people, then it becomes an experience and it becomes reality. That's why I really believe that you need the rest. Of course, working in a professional kitchen is completely different than being in your mother's kitchen or in your home kitchen. And not every mother can do what the professional cooks do. Regardless, still, some of the also best Western chefs we know today, they always praise that they've learned by their mother, by their grandmother. So I think we should cherish this. I don't know, I forgot the rest of the question, sorry.
Me again. I believe I was lucky to learn from my mothers and grandmothers, because they didn't have the words like umami or balance. They were cooking with what they have it. And they were respecting the food, and they were teaching us to respect the food, because you cannot waste. So simple. And all tradition, it's all about this, actually. We talk about zero waste and fermentation like something new today, but those are tradition of the thousands years. Just we bring it up now because We, like a fashion, we do our circle. Good for the new generation, but the sad part in this, the modern mothers and fathers like you guys, you do not cook at home. And never, your kids never gonna learn from you, most of you. So this is the legacy that I was talking, and thank you for the passing, Maureen. This is, I believe, that the legacy that we're gonna leave behind, that to build an academy that free for everyone that can reach, not to just who one can afford, and teaching over there. Example, if we call Mr. Lazarakis and say, can you come to academy and teach about the wine? Would you come? We have yes. And the others also? Yeah, that's what we need, I believe. And this is gonna teach not just to cooking, to understand what is cooking, what is mean, what is memory in behind, and how to respect the product, because we chefs, we have a broken cordon between us and the producers. Most of us, we just receive the food and we execute the recipe. We do not know the struggle the wild catch fish had for 10 years in the sea. And you just cook it wrong. You waste it. Thank you.
Are there any questions from anyone in the audience? Yeah.
First, let me thank all of you, particularly Kamal, for raising the awareness about the other part of the Mediterranean, representing Cyprus here, so which I call the Mediterranean Plus. Oh, okay. So my question, I mean, you all hinted at that this part of the Mediterranean has seen a lot of struggle socially over the years since the beginning of time. How much do you think that and the dynamism that comes from that, positive or negative, has affected the way you think about food and you execute food?
Well, I think it's a lot of conflict because there's a lot of diversity. There's not, one color. Usually, there's always the concept of the other, which means there's a majority and a very small minority that we call the other. So when I speak about the case of Lebanon, for instance, who's the other? The Muslim or the Christian? It's half-half. So who's the other? When you talk about, Jerusalem, when you talk about Cyprus yourself, right? It's half Turkish, half Greek. So who's the other? So this creates a lot of tension and so a lot of conflict. But at the same time, it brings a lot of diversity and richness. Like, look how diverse your traditions can be. Look how diverse. I know best about Lebanon, so I talk about it. When I talk about like some kind of cookies, ma'moul, it's the same cookies that Muslim eat for Eid, and the same that Christian do for Easter, for instance. So, that's diversity. Unfortunately, we are in a period of conflict. How can we go beyond this to an era of celebrating diversity? It's by not being afraid, and we're definitely not there yet, unfortunately. And I think Ozgur has an opinion about it, and we have to know that both Ozgur and Shemsa live in Greece, not just for tourism, for political reasons, for personal reasons. Maybe I'm not here to talk about them, but Ozgur is, what's your status? Sorry, I forgot the technical terms. I'm always afraid to. What's your status? Is a refugee.
Yes, I'm holding political status.
Holding political asylum, and he's a refugee. He's an immigrant, So You know what, guys? It's like in a zoo. I always say, like, I'm the one from the other side of the Mediterranean. I'm the monkey, you know. I'm like in a zoo. And, like, it's a monkey with who you can talk with because he looks like us, he speaks like us. And Uzgur is the same. You know, like, you are all afraid of immigrants and immigration and all of these big words. Like, voila, this is an immigrant. Look at him, talk to him, ask him questions. And that's the reality.
Thank you. Any questions? I couldn't understand if I.
So there's a dynamism, there's some energy that's coming from all this history that we all carry with us. So what I was asking is, you know, thousands of years of history and struggle, you know, with people all over the place. Is that energy coming out in some of your dishes? Like you're struggling with something, and then here, what Semsa was saying, there's some internal, you know, energy, and then does it come out in your dish, in your menus?
I believe not totally, but in some things, especially with the spices. Let's say you are cooking in a kitchen, and you wanna spice it up, and you have the habits that coming from your mother kitchen or from your neighbor kitchen, or it's for event cooking, and you just add the spices, and how to say, those spices are local for over there, and you find yourself adding those without knowing, without noticing, and when you taste it, you understand that what you are doing while cooking. Yes, of course, but for me, I believe this is the way of the cooking, because, okay, how much trained we are as a profession, how much read we are, but we always want to go back our mother kitchen, our elders' kitchen. Remember, guys, the watermelon with the feta in the summers. What can change this? You know, what can replace this? Nothing. Nothing. Correct. That's all.
We have, I think, not enough time for another question, but I just want to thank everyone for your thoughts, your insight, and being here today with us at this panel. I've really appreciated getting to speak to all of you and know a little bit more about your world. Thank you, the world that we all share.
Thank you.